This is part 3 of a call that took place on March the 16th this year, talking about how to change your thinking and change your income. And there are 3 steps to this process. The first one is you need to contact your future self. Next, you need to step into your future self. Next, you need to experience your life through the eyes and through the body of your future self. You literally step into your ideal future by stepping into your ideal future self. So enjoy this video.
How much I'm learning here.
I'm all choked up. Yeah, that's obvious because you've been hanging out here now for 2 years, right? And a
Yeah,
lot of things that you said just now, just a second ago, a couple seconds ago, you said that, it's amazing how the things I wrote in my book have affected you and have moved you kind of thing, which is it's a great affirmation. And I appreciate that. But it also moves me, right?
yeah.
Which is the reason I'm doing it. So those MAGIC, those are 5 principles of consciously creating your dream. That's what they are. That's why I call it magic, because it's like, taking something out of, the realm of thought and making it physically real, which is exactly what happened with this computer and happened to this pen and my shirt and that rug behind me. They all start as an idea in somebody's mind. Like I use the analogy lots of times of an architect. I mean, when he first thinks about, hey, I'm going to build a building over there in that lot, you know, he just has a kind of a fuzzy concept of it perhaps in the beginning, but then he starts to sketch it out and design it out, and then, it might take a while, but eventually he's going to have a complete set of plans. So talking about Napoleon Hill with his idea of if you can conceive it and believe it, you can achieve it. So going from the initial concept, oh, I can see like an X-shaped building in that place. That's conceiving it, but it's not conceiving it in enough detail to actually create it. To create it, you've got to sit down and design every square inch of the building and make sure everything works, all the wires and the plumbing and everything else. And so it's still a concept, but of course the concept goes through various stages from just an initial fuzzy idea to a really almost like a concrete set of plans. I mean, nowadays you can probably do it on AutoCAD or some kind of 3D computer program where it seems like the building is done. You can sort of walk through it virtually, right? So obviously, some ideas are in a sense kind of nascent. They're just a thought. Other ones are a plan. Well, what's a plan? A plan is just a thought too, right? But it's a different kind of thought. So yeah, so those MAGIC that I synthesized down into those 5 things, um, to me those represent the five principles of conscious manifestation or consciously changing your life, right? Because a lot of the stuff we do it unconsciously, and some of it's good, some of it's not so good, right? Some of the things I do unconsciously are great. I'm really glad that they happen. Um, but if it's not working, if it's uncomfortable, if it's causing pain in a sense, some kind of pain, then it's like, oh, now I need to figure out how did I do that and stop doing it, right? So yeah,
Well,
um,
can I mention something related to that?
sure.
Or that yeah, I had a little epiphany. I was thinking about this the other night, and I had a epiphany that you were saying, like Michael Caine and I think Arnold. They said in hindsight it was all crystal clear. It was they could see the path, they could see the way through it. I think most people, when they think and grow rich, for example, or all of us, we start off with that's impossible. Okay, because we can't see the path. All you see is all the obstacles.
Right.
Now, I think if you look at some of Einstein's principle with matter and atoms, we talked about some of in your book. You talked a little bit about the proton or the electrons go through the slit, and your
Right.
ability to affect the outcome by predictably putting yourself into the spot where luck might happen, for example.
Yeah.
And I think as they started to perceive or pursue their goals and dream of being an actor or being a weightlifter, for example, with Arnold, being the best in the world. I'm sure when he said, "I want to be the best in the world," if he ever vocalized that, he was discouraged, I'm sure, by many people saying, "You'll never do that. You'll never be the best."
You
But
mean
because
Arnold?
because either one of them, an actor or either one of those successful people, I'm sure most people said, "You're nuts. You're never
Well,
going to do
Michael
that."
Caine and Arnold, I think, have quite different points of view in that score, because I've seen quite a bit about Arnold, and I've watched a bunch of things, interviews and things that he's done lately, and I think he always had the idea that he wanted to be number one in the world in something.
Hmm.
Number one bodybuilder, number one movie star. I mean, he didn't, that was what he saw.
Hmm.
That was what he saw himself as the best in the world. And
Right.
he's done that a couple of times, right?
Yeah.
Number one box office star in the world. He was that for a while. Number one bodybuilder. He did that, for a while.
Did real
But
estate. Maria Shriver, I think.
yeah, but he's not the number one real estate person. But I mean,
He was up there. He was
well, he
quite,
made he made lots of money. But Michael Caine, he wanted to be an actor, and the reason he wanted to be an actor was because he had experience being in a play when he was in high school, and he really liked it. He enjoyed it. It was a whole different experience for him. The whole physical thing of being on stage and getting a response from people and pretending to be somebody else. The whole thing was enjoyable to him. So when he came back from Korea, when his 2 years in the army was up, um, he thought, well, what am I going to do? His father literally worked carrying fish. That was his job. You know, his
uh-huh.
mother was washing floors. That was her job. Very mundane kind of work. And so he decided he wanted to be an actor because he liked going to the movies and he saw movies and movie stars. And and so he said, I want to be an actor. Didn't have any clue in the beginning how to do it until he met that guy in the butter factory that I mentioned, and the guy said to him, "Hey, there's a newspaper that advertises jobs if you want to get into the movie or the acting business." So he did that, and and of course, once you're in that world, right, in that arts world, then of course over time you're going to meet more actors, more directors. You're going to get more ideas. It's going to be more sort of you're going to see a path to getting where you want to go. Whereas when
Mhm.
you're outside the world in the butter factory, none of those people know how to find an agent or get into the movie business or whatever because they're not in that world, right? Like Jess now, she's in this situation. She met this person who's finding her auditions for doing commercials and things. Well, that's a totally different space, totally different world to be in. So all things are possible. I mean, like a lot of things are possible for her right now that, let's say, weren't possible a few weeks ago or a few months ago before she met this person and decided to give it a try, right? And
Yep.
has some success with it. She's had a couple of auditions so far, which have turned out well. Um, so and so when we were talking a few weeks ago about money, right?
Hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm going to post this video, by the way, because we're talking. I'm not sure if anybody else is going to be interested in this, but I can post it for our own consumption. But
Hmm.
we were talking about this, and this is kind of a version of what I was talking about to Jessica before you came on. But
I was no, I was
you might have heard me if you were listening,
I
because
was.
I said to her, when you first said about a year ago, you were writing from the perspective of your future self, and you said, I want to make X number of dollars, by 2024,
Hmm.
so I don't have to have a day job.
Right.
Well, that was just a thought in her head, right? And she was thinking of it in terms of getting clients and doing speaking and selling her journals and that sort of thing. She never thought, oh, what if I become what if I start doing TV commercials?
Yep.
Well, all of a sudden now that,
It's
you know,
manifesting.
now
Okay.
because she's in this different arena now where she's doing commercials, all of a sudden now that's possible, right?
Yeah.
She could theoretically make enough money doing that she doesn't have to have a day job doing what she's doing, working for the company that she's working for, right? And
Yep.
so when we were talking the other week, I was thinking, how much money would I like to make this year? So immediately what I thought of was, how many clients do I need? How much coaching do I have to do? How many speeches do I have to give? Whatever, right? How many books do I need to sell?
Right.
Well, then I thought, hey, wait a second. I'd never really considered before. I've never given any thought, serious thought, to finding a publisher for my book, right?
Right.
And the first step is to find an agent. So now I'm in the middle of this course. Well, I've just started the course, but my whole perspective now is different, right? And I realized, hey, if I had an agent for my book, all of a sudden, where before it was like, a grind. How many clients? How many business? How much coaching? How many people? How many books do I
But
need?
yeah, it's a big
Now
old
it could be
distribution.
like, hey, wait a second, one letter, right?
Yeah.
One 200-word letter called a query, right?
Hmm.
To the right agent could do it. So I could theoretically, write down, spend a couple of hours writing one letter, 200 words, literally. And if that were to happen, then suddenly, doing speeches, having people want to talk to me, want to become clients of my coaching, want to join my online community, like you have,
Hmm.
um, it would happen like without me doing anything, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, talk about a different kind of an idea, right?
Yeah.
And it's an idea, i.e., finding a publisher for my book. It's an idea that has nibbled around the edges of my mind, for probably 20 years. You know,
Hmm.
it came in and I sort of knocked it away, like, well, I don't know how to do that, and it won't happen, and I'm not ready, and am I good enough, or whatever. I mean, all these silly ideas, right?
Right.
Um, so all of a sudden now it's like, hey, wait a second, I can see how it's possible now because this course I'm taking by this woman, this is what she does, right?
Yeah.
She runs this writing group, and she's in the business. She's an expert. She helps people find agents that find publishers, and this is what she does. And so, listening to her talk and taking her workshop and her classes and things, it's like, well, geez, of course it's possible. It's no more difficult than going to the piano teacher and learning how to play the piano and giving it time, and then pretty soon you're playing the piano, right? Pretty soon
Right.
you're crafting this letter and you're sending it out to agents, and one of them goes, I want to I want to publish your book, or I want to be the agent for your book. Find a publisher. So um, I was thinking this morning. I starting to I'm editing a video. I did this talk the other day. Well, some months ago, I guess.
Hmm.
And I started off talking about, Albert Einstein says that Albert Einstein says that the problem that you create at one level of thinking can't be solved from the same level of thinking. You have to move to a different level.
It's an interesting
You know,
thought.
that's a famous quote of his. You've probably heard it before.
Yeah, but I never thought of thinking at different levels. I never thought of like this is junky thinking, better thinking, thinking. That's interesting what you just said
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So like, you know, the thing is that if I think from the level of selling my books and doing coaching and doing online webinars and things, that's a big problem. A lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of, you know, whatever, right?
Yeah, a lot of inputs, a lot of outputs, a lot
Spending a lot of
of
money, doing a lot of advertising, doing a lot of promotion, all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
But now suddenly it's like, oh, wait a second. One letter could do it. Just writing one letter. I've written one letter many times, you know, like one page, literally one page of, you know, crafted adjectives and verbs and nouns, which I've done many times, um, could do it. Well, that's a different level of thinking, right?
Interesting. Interesting. Well, you had just, if you had not published your thoughts into a book, but you could just be talking. But the fact that you put it into a book, you took the time to think a different way than just
Yeah,
talking. You could just be talking about this, but you took it from talking to writing,
right.
now writing to publishing. You couldn't really have conveyed those thoughts. If you didn't have the book, you probably wouldn't have went on coast to coast.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah, if I
you
hadn't had the
know,
book, I wouldn't be on coast to coast, for sure.
right. So
And
you
if I
started
hadn't written
going,
my book, I mean, you wouldn't be here either, right?
right, right. So I mean, it's pretty interesting that you've successively have changed your thinking from when Anthony is a young man to now Anthony is a writer, publisher, a coach, educator. You did coaching in the corporate world as well. But then now you start to, I see you, and I say, hey, this is great. I mean, I've been looking at all kinds of literature. You can see how voracious reader and
Yeah.
studier I am, over the years. Most of the people in this group, I think, they're looking for answers. And I think some of your thinking is kind of revolutionary. And that's why I encourage you to do what you're doing. I'm like, no, it's good. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're for answers, like trying to solve the Rubik's Cube, I think people are trying to navigate life successfully and productively so that they glean the most out of their life and don't waste it. This is a not, I think our thinking patterns here are productive.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. Yeah.
but I think
And
that
yeah,
people
so,
get,
you know, I really appreciate you hanging out here and being here every week.
oh, I love what you
And I
do. I
can
mean,
see, you know, you making some changes too. I mean, well, all of us are making changes. I mean, you know, Jessica's life has changed a lot in the last couple of years. Mine has too, and so is yours, right? And
yeah,
so is
yeah, I think we're
Naomi.
all
And even Phil, you know, he's running a race, right? 80 years old. He's training for this
yeah.
race. I mean, that's an amazing shift, right?
Well, I bet you some of the listeners too. I mean, that are there, and they realize the role that they have. And Yvette came in with some great ideas with even the plays and the other actors that are there. I think
Yeah.
started a new thread of thought for all of us. It was refreshing to see that. Michael McDonald. I mean, all
Yep.
these. I think all these people opened a world to me that I didn't really even know existed. My world's accountants and
Yeah.
mortgage loans and selling and you know kids soccer and sports kind of limited. And then through this conversation, I've always had an interest in reading and writing, but it's opened up possibilities for me and moved more towards a greater efficacy in moving towards my goals. I'm trying to say before, I'm kind of bobbing around. Now I'm saying, well, wait a minute. Some of these adversities, which is what I was getting to with the wind, are opportunities. Well, what do you mean? The wind, that's the buffeting that's coming at you, when you learn to navigate it the right way, it becomes like a dojo.
Yeah.
You're training yourself. You're saying, well, how do I move past this problem? How do I do this? How do I do that? And
Yeah. Michael
then,
Caine calls it using the difficulty, right? When you
yeah,
have a difficulty, it's like, okay, how can you use this to move yourself ahead? I mean, that's the same thing as sailing. I use sailing as an analogy, right? The wind's blowing, the wind's blowing from the north to the south. Well, if you want to go to the north, you can do it by tacking into the wind, right? Whereas if you don't have a sail, if you're just on a raft, then you have no choice. You go south. That's it. You can't go
well,
north.
I was thinking of that analogy the other day too. The other thing is, if it was sailing, Yeah, we could always go with the wind behind us. Everybody can sail with the wind behind you. But they used to drop the sails when it wasn't behind you. So three-quarters of the time they're dropping the wind. Or they couldn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
The other thing, then now, once they learn to tack, they can now go into the wind at 45-degree angles. But the other side that has to be part of that is you have to have a keel. You have to have it's the same thing. It's sailing is just like flying an airplane. You have to, the water is here. There's above and below, there's a weighted keel or there's a board that
Yep.
goes down that makes it like a wing. And so the thing that makes lift, that makes an airplane fly, is the same thing that makes a boat go into and forward into the wind.
Well,
Because
a sail, as far as I know, is the same as a wing.
correct, it's
I
a
mean,
sideways.
the reason that you move, into the wind with a sail is that it creates lift that pulls you ahead. It's not that the wind is pushing you; it's pulling you now.
Right.
That's the thing that lifts an airplane off the ground, right?
Yeah, because
I do have a comment on that. I just thought of something, and then I have to run
okay.
to my project thing. But anyway, I thought of, we can't control the wind, but we can control our sails,
Yes.
and then that really, your conversation is really hitting home to me, and
Yeah.
that's what I thought of.
Well, and without wind, you have nothing. You're in the
Right,
doldrums.
exactly.
Without
Yes.
problems, you would have nothing. Which is really,
Mhm.
instead of hating the problems or hating the things that are happening around you, the news and the weather and all this stuff, instead you start to love it because it allows you to move.
Well, one of the things that Kehoe says that I remember, and it's absolutely true, is that there's no such thing as a problem. Stop calling them problems. Call them opportunities. Well, when you first hear that, you might go, wait a second, what planet is this guy from? I mean, this sounds like, airy fairy woo woo kind of talking. But then once you think about it, you realize it's true. It's like, hey, you can get rid of all your problems. Just stop using that word. Just, oh, something happened. Where's the opportunity? Just like Michael Caine, oh, okay, something happened I didn't want. How can I use it? Right? Yeah, thanks, Naomi.
Yep. Well, thank you. I've got to run,
How are
so
you doing with
take
your
care.
project? Did you get it done?
Uh, yeah, sort of. But anyway,
All right.
thanks
Well,
so much.
Yeah, you're
thank
welcome.
you.
Talk
Thank
to
you
you
for being
later.
here.
Yep. Bye-bye.
Bye bye. For more information about this online community, to get your own copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, either the ebook, the paperback, or the audiobook, go to mindtimeandpower.com, where you can also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook.